Hi, League of Lit fam. Welcome to another episode of the Jules and Monty 10-year anniversary re-review here at League of Lit, where we discuss books, adaptations, and anything else we wish to talk about and tie it to lit because we can.
Today we are diving into episode 8, and let's see what's going on.
We're getting a little bit more of Nancy's perspective on their relationship, a little bit more of the nurse's perspective on what's going on, and of course, Nancy being kind of annoyed that why can't Jules do any of this herself? But also understanding as Jules' friend why Jules can't do any of this herself. It's a hard place to be in, I think, for Nancy.
So this first initial little bickering session between Nancy and Ty, it gives us some insight, but it also gives us a different side of things because, first of all, Ty is supposed to be Tybalt and Nancy is the nurse. Those two do not have anything that they would actually do anything with each other in the original source material. So this is a fun little crossover which opens up doors for other opportunities. And this is one of those opportunities where we find out, oh, there are apparently rules when you date a Kappa. Kind of silly rules, if you ask me, because you can't really control who you have to do certain class projects with. So what if you ended up having to do a class project with, a Mu Tau Gamma? It seems very arbitrary, even though Nancy is insistent that all that she's doing is a favor for a friend. She has not identified what friend, so there's no clear connection that, it would be for Jules, even though as an audience, we have no reason to believe that there is anyone but Jules that Nancy would be doing this for. Even though, obviously, as an audience, we know way more than what little sweet Ty here knows. It's still that kind of, okay, clearly she would have other friends. She has this vibrant personality that seems like she would attract any and all people to become her friend. So why does it matter that it's an MTG? I don't understand, neither do you. But we have fun nonetheless, and seeing Ty being, uptight and annoying and, yeah.
Now, this episode starts with Nancy and Ty in what seems to be like a common area at what would be Verona University, discussing why Nancy has to go talk to the Mu Tau Gammas. And of course, they're not really discussing it, and Nancy's giving him some excuse, but they're semi-discussing it. I think something interesting about this, in watching the behind-the-scenes vlog, is that this actually was supposed to be filmed outside on campus at Tufts, but it ended up just being not a good day outside, and so they had to film inside, which was probably one of the first days for them that things really didn't go exactly how things were planned. But even with all of the background noise and everything happening, you don't really lose out on what is happening on screen, which I think is a testament to their ability to adapt to the situations around them.
See Nancy kind of explain what's happening and why Tybalt has a stick up his butt about it. And she has a moment where she's questioning, okay, why am I telling you this? Why am I even doing this? Oh wait, no, I know. She at least identifies why she's doing it. She understands that if Cliff were to find out, then it would all blow over. So there's that next level of foreshadowing of, okay, something's going to be happening with Cliff because there's something that's not quite right up here in the head with Cliff, apparently. That's at least kind of the sense that we're given, but they never outright say anything. But she never Nancy never identifies why it is that she's choosing to show it on the vlog. But then we get to see Monty, Mark, and Ben, and they're having a conversation, and apparently Tybalt, Ty, has issued a challenge to Mark, a challenge on his life because, Shakespeare language, because Mark Mercutio Matthews cannot not speak in Shakespeare. I feel like he's just incapable of it. So either he is always drunk or it just fits his whimsical personality.
Nancy gives us a little bit of insight in the Mu Tau Gammas, talking about how the Kappas have sent a letter to their house. A challenge on my life is what Mark says. which I'm sure in fraternity world is just the dumbest thing possible.
I think this moment between Nancy and Monty, where Nancy goes on this whole thing of, it would be a very weak dealing, like it goes through this whole Shakespearean monologue of what's going on, why she's there, and Monty just looks at her and goes, huh? And she sums it up in very simple words. And I think that shows one of the strong suits of this entire series, of between the context of situations that are happening, and then you have moments like this where it's like, okay, we just went through all of this and I'm still not following what you're saying. And so they say it again in normal people terms, not Shakespeare terms, but normal people terms. And I think it's one of the things that makes it a really strong adaptation, and it makes it to where it's like, if it didn't have some of the language choices, I could see some high schools using it. And maybe even they would choose to use it with the language choices. But I think because of that, it would put it as a option that maybe not all schools would be willing to do, because not everybody wants their child to be exposed to it, even though they'll be exposed to it regardless. So, I think it helps put into context what is happening, the significance of what's happening, why they need to be like, be careful, make wise choices, please. But I think this specific moment really just kind of puts that into clear perspective so you can actually see, oh, this is what's happening. This is what all of that meant. Because unless you spend a lot of time like diving into Shakespeare's language, it's not always the easiest to grasp, which is one of the reasons why some people just really don't enjoy reading it. It's the same with like reading a Jane Austen novel or 18th century, 19th century literature, because or even like before that, because it's that old English, that using more words than we typically do now. It just puts things into perspective and helps you grasp oh, that's the significance of this. Okay. And I think that is just on point right here.
There's a really great moment of Nancy using the Shakespeare of if you were to lead her to a fool's paradise, as they say, and all that good stuff, and Romeo just being completely confused. And I love it. I love anytime they include the Shakespeare and whoever they're talking to is just like, I'm not on the level that you're at right now. It's a great moment of sort of reality inside what's happening. We then get Jules vlogging on her webcam, which I think is just another really great way for them to just kind of keep you in the format that we're in. This is clearly a web series. This is clearly a vlogging series. That's what we're doing. And in keeping with that, and Jules being like, I have to vlog so bad right now and I don't have a camera, and being like, I can use my webcam. It's really just an interesting way of her, of them keeping us inside the storyline and allowing us to have more information with Nancy being gone with the camera. Nancy, of course, in her way, in the nurse's way, gives Jules all the information that Monty said, you guys are going to go on a date and it's going to be great. You're going to fall in love, be in love forever, blah, blah, blah. And it's a really cute little moment. It's fun to see the nurse and Juliet played out in this style of friendship in a way that obviously Shakespeare didn't necessarily intend, because the nurse is Juliet's caregiver in the source material, but it's truly a friend relationship in a way that it's very easy for it to be characterized that way. So it's nice for it to play out on screen that way.
Ready for adorableness to come, I guess. See you next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to this very special League of Lit for the Jules and Monty 10th year anniversary.
Please make sure you follow us at League of Lit Podcast on Instagram and at League of Lit Pod on TikTok.
If you have any suggestions for an episode, please feel free to leave a comment on leagueoflit.tumblr.com.